Hughes Blog and Grill.
Glenn, we're going to talk a little bit about entrepreneurship.
Okay.
What is it? I mean, you and I have been in this business a fairly long time. And I mean, what do we consider to be entrepreneurship?
Maybe one of the ways to think about it is what it's not. And there are a lot of visions of a solitary romantic genius with a huge capacity for risk-taking. And that's part of the story. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the history of organizations that really made it, and we could talk the Beatles, we could talk Apple Computer. What's actually kind of interesting is it often involves a tension between several different thinking styles, several different types of people. Okay. And the resilient entrepreneurial organizations seem to me to be the ones that can allow very different people to work together over a period of time. Now, this is not to diminish that there are, some great individual business leaders, but really for a business to grow beyond 100 or 150 people, eventually, that founder genius idea has to really give way to something where, power devolves into more hands. And that's another form of entrepreneurship that I think is really interesting. And I think we can see models, not just in business, but in successful cultural production. I'm a product of the 70s, and so I followed a lot of bands, and there's this persistent pattern. You pick your band, it's the Beatles or Genesis, so there'd be two that had come to my mind. Right. Now, in both those cases, there was a prominent figure, Peter Gabriel in Genesis, Paul McCartney in the Beatles, and most people who follow those artists really feel that the best work, really took place in that original band. So why was that? It was clearly there was a tension of different styles, different types, and there was something magical that happened. And even in the case of Apple, I mean, who are the other people? Wozniak, Kawasaki, and so on that balanced Jobs in those early days. Right. And had it just been the Steve Jobs show and nothing else from the beginning, I think we're starting to see some biographical information that comes out that says, maybe it was good there were some other people balancing some of those tendencies out a little bit.
Okay. So what if we're in a large organization, and yet we feel entrepreneurship? It's in our DNA. What do we do?
Well, I think you've come to the right spot. There's a good body of thinking about the tendency of large organizations to bias for reliability over validity. So if you have an organizational culture that needs proof for every last thing, but an entrepreneur sees opportunity a little bit before the other person, and those people are found inside big corporations and outside. So how do those people stay sane? Well, one of the ways is to promote a culture of flexibility of thinking. So the idea of the thinking hats is an example. Let's create structures for thinking processes that allow people to step away from their habitual and perhaps a sense of obligatory attachment to risk mitigating thinking, and using thinking processes, being deliberate about the thinking process, engaging people, becoming master facilitators. And another factor is the idea of pilots and prototypes. See, the issue is that good things don't always have ways of proving them in advance. Right. And so I think entrepreneurs that I see inside corporate organizations recognize the need to satisfy those people who want to contain risk. But what they are skillful at is saying, let's kick measurement down the road a little piece here. Yep. Let's try this. Let's try it within a contained enough environment that we're not going to lose the farm if this doesn't go well. Right. And let's measure it a little further down the road. So you'll still get your way of having solid numbers around this, and we'll commit to an accountability framework that if the numbers aren't solid, well then the idea dies. Right. But it seems to have enough merit to be worth this contained risk. So allowing people to just get a little bit more comfortable who aren't in that necessarily entrepreneurial mindset, and create a balance between both both impulses that are both essential to a
Right.
successful business.
Excellent. Wouldn't it be great if you could create an organization that keeps growing and keeps the philosophy and practice of freedom to fly and freedom to fall?
Right. And I think that we're in a time period where it's not just wouldn't it be great? It's increasingly essential because the time period that an organization has wrapped around a window of strategic advantage based on any one big hit. I mean, you're already seeing people taking a swing at Apple in terms of their iPhone 5 isn't really much of an
Oh.
improvement over iPhone 4. I remember there was an album review back in the day, Chicago 14 comes just after Chicago 13 and just before Chicago 15. You don't want to be the corporation that's getting record reviews like that.
Right.
And so there is a need to keep on breaking out and doing new things, and I think that need is accelerating.
Excellent. Good. Thank you, Glenn.
All right, thank you.
All right.
AQ's Blog and Grill.